It's funny, one of the things that I talk about a lot, not necessarily on the podcast, but with authors, when we do events and things, is about, and authors that I'm friends with offline, is about sort of the author's relationship to criticism and feedback versus, from my background in the theater, like you were saying, you're dealing with your ego and your work at the same time, often very publicly. Like often a director might turn to you and be like, that's bad. Like, no. Or, there might be fights or these like conversations that are very contentious that are happening in the moment of creation. And I think a lot about how authors, you write your book or you write big chunks of your book and then you send it off to your editor. And then 3 weeks later, they respond with like tidy notes. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about this. And it's just, to me, feels so foreign from any creative work that I've ever done in my life, the way that authors talk about writing books and their relationships with edits. So I'm wondering if that part of it was at all like, were you ever like, hey, just tell it to me straight. Like, I don't need notes. Just, can you just tell me if this sentence sucks or not? Or like, if you ever felt like, or maybe the opposite, where you were like, this is a great way to receive notes, like months removed in this like, listed format or whatever.
I mean, one of the things I've learned, this is where you had asked about like success and how it affects my writing. So certainly like experience, I have learned with time, don't share. I have no reason to share a draft with anyone. The only reason I'll share a draft with someone early, why, is because I want someone to be like, I like it. Bad idea. If that's why I'm sharing a draft, don't share it. I have to like it. Like I have to be the one to fight for it. And so I've become more and more shy about sharing early pages over my career. And like, I just got pissed. Like I just was working on a theater project and I got some notes and I did not like them. And I was pissed for days, like bad mood, like family, like keeping their distance from me because they were like, mom's mad. And I was pissed because I felt like, okay, this person actually just didn't like what I was trying to do. They weren't giving me a note that if I took it, it would make the thing better. It was just they didn't like what I was trying to do. And so, okay, that hurts, that bruises, right? But when it's someone who believes in what you're trying to do, it's this great feeling of camaraderie, right? So for The White Hot, I'm really lucky to work with Chris Jackson, who's my editor and publisher at One World Penguin Random House. And I gave him the whole thing. He was like, send me 50 pages whenever they're ready. I was like, no. You're meeting that. April like full on. And he was like, okay, this feels farther along than most first drafts I read. And I think in part that's because I was being so private. I had done a ton of rewriting already. But he found places to kind of crack the shell open and say, well, here's where the novel is firing on all cylinders. So here's the places where it's not as good as its best places. So that was great, and by the end of our editing process, he'd say, that this paragraph, I think it's 93% there. And I'd be like, got it. I agree, So that could be really exciting. One of the things he really pushed me on was, how is it that April, who really didn't get to pursue her formal education, how can she write this eloquent letter? So we spent a lot of time circling that very logistic and literal question. And so I had to come up with some narrative responses. We learned that she's gotten her GED. We learned that she's done some reading, and these are just very subtle in there, but that's the result of editing and him pushing me.